some of these men don't see you as what you're talking really about. So therefore they're
a bit dismissive, not taking it seriously.
They're really dismissive. So I can say to somebody the same thing, and my partner can say exactly the same thing. He won't listen to me, but he will to him. Yeah. The more you see the same, the more you feel comfortable. You feel like as if you can speak to them. And he said, I don't think it'd be good because of your stammer.
Right.
So I thought, okay, fine, yeah. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna show you that I can do this.
Hey, before we start this podcast, what I want to share with you is we have a Spotify version as well. So if you enjoy listening to the audio version, if you're out and about in the car, in the gym, then make sure you check that out as well. Sabina, recently you purchased half a street with the intention of demolishing it to build a block of apartments. So how did that come about?
Wow, yes. So that came about because the people that actually bought that street bought it with the intention of that being a compulsory buy, because opposite that there was planning for a huge shopping complex. So they thought, well, if we buy this street, the council will have to buy it to then knock down really as a compulsory buy. But then the shopping complex didn't happen. And then years went by, and then we found out through my business partner was that now they've got planning to build a huge NEC type arena over there. So we found that out and thought, right, great, early opportunity there, because we knew that they were looking to sell, because these were derelict properties sat there doing nothing. So we bought them at a very good price and now turning those really into serviced accommodation.
Okay, so the intention is really to build some apartments that would run a serviced accommodation.
Yes.
And so if I understood correctly, the opportunity was that whoever purchased it previously, they paid a significant amount of money for it with hope value that actually a compulsory purchase order will happen, the council will pay them a lot of money and they'll purchase it off them.
Correct.
And they'll make a profit there. But when that didn't happen, you paid a fraction of what they probably paid for it. And now there's other developments happening in the area, which means you can capitalize and benefit from that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you find deals like that?
Just by speaking to people. You really need to be on the ground, networking, speaking to landlords. Something that I do is really even kind of knock on people's doors really as well. So if I see something derelict, or I see, for example, single glazing of the garden that isn't really kept well, I'll be cheeky and I'll just knock on and I'll say something like, hi, just bought something down the street. Do you know somebody who is looking to sell? Not telling them, look, you need to sell because you can't keep it up kind of thing, but just giving them the opportunity to speak. And the other thing that I do is that if I don't get to speak to the owner, I will speak to the neighbours, and you'd be surprised at the things that the neighbours tell you.
Yes.
Some of these can be curtain twitchers, and they know, right, literally everything, right, the time somebody leaves, time somebody comes, specific days really as well. So it's just all about speaking to people and just making people aware you are there. Because really, if you don't tell people, who is?
So that's a strategy we also teach in our inner circle group as well. If you find an empty property, you think, how do I find the owner? You maybe look up the land registry and you find the same address for the owner. You think, well, clearly there's nobody here, so they've gone somewhere. How do we get hold of them? And neighbours is a fantastic way to do that.
Yeah.
So how do you build the confidence to just go and turn up and knock on the door? Because many people will be just like mortified at the idea of just going to knock on somebody's door and say, if you know somebody that might be looking to sell. How do you build that kind of confidence?
To be honest, right, because it is cringe-worthy, because even now, right, because actually still cringe. But then I think, well, if really I don't do that, somebody else will.
Yes.
So I just think like that. Plus, if I take a step back, if I can, so I've come from the corporate world. I used to work for Shell Global. I started off in their actually IT team, their finance team. And back then, Shell, such a global company, they were starting to streamline all of their systems.
Okay.
Prior to that, the sales team had a separate system, the purchasing team did, the accounts team did. None of these systems talked until they started to streamline. And we had Dell consultants, IBM consultants sat there finding really out how the system works really, and then adjusting their software to that. And the kind of person that I am, I'm very curious. So I started speaking to these IBM consultants. What are you doing? Taught me through that. And just by really understanding it from A to Z, I could then speak to them and say, hey, have you thought about doing it like this? Or have you thought about really adapting it like this? And just by doing that, I slowly became their tester. So I tested out some of their systems. And then I thought, okay, who else can I speak to? So I started speaking to the director, thinking, hey, have you thought about doing this or doing that? Because I was sat there at the desk doing this job. And then just by doing that, I got head hunted to then help them streamline all of their systems in the Nordics. So that was Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and just set up processes, set up systems in place, and I trained up really all of their team how to actually do that step by step, and created a manual as well, which I think to this day they're still used. Yes. And then I found great satisfaction really in actually doing that, and the directors knew that, and then they said, look, Sabina, could you please do the same in Turkey and also in Italy as well. And at that time, I'd been doing this for years. So I had been, I got chauffeur driven from my home to the airport, business class flights, five-star really accommodation, dining was great, really everything was great, Sarge, but it's a great lifestyle to have, either if you're single or if you've been married for quite a long time and you need that break from your partner.
Bored from the partner.
That's it, to get out from under their feet. And at that time, really, I was young, and I saw people really in my team that were starting to get separated, that were starting to get divorced.
Right.
So I was staying away from Monday to Friday, sometimes Saturday, really, as well. And by the time that I got back, really, it was just time to sleep, to repack your suitcase kind of thing. And
you're on the corporate ladder, high-flying life.
Correct, yes. And you know what, Sarge? It was the best job, because there, Shell was great at personal development. That is where I started to think, oh, really, there are things that I can do for my mindset, for me.
Yes.
And they were just great at helping you really overcome challenges.
Yes.
And really at the end of that time, Sarge, I got really asked to go to Turkey, to go to Italy. And at that time, I just sat down and I thought, is it actually in me to do this really again? Because now really, I was staying abroad for a week, but then I would have to stay out there for like a good 3-4 weeks really at a time.
Further away.
Yes. And I just thought, no, it's just not for me anymore. So I then took a step back. I came back to the UK, but then the job, funnily enough, the job got streamlined that I had. That job then got shipped to China, where obviously it was cheaper for somebody to do, and really it was all process driven. So I then decided, right, okay, Sabina, really it's just time now to leave. So I left Shell, and I thought to myself, right, okay, now what are you gonna do? And at that time, I was, believe it or not, due to my stammer, I was so scared of speaking to people really on the phone. Every time I would get a call, I would ask somebody to transfer it to an office where I knew that was so far away from people. It was in a corner somewhere where nobody was going to hear me. And I thought, you can't do this anymore. You know, you can't like be scared of speaking to people on the phone. So what does somebody that has a stammer, that is scared of speaking to people, do? I set up a call center.
Take the bull by the horns.
Absolutely, yes, early, absolutely. And I sat there, Sarge, making thousands of calls really a day.
This is outbound calls.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, like cold calls.
Right.
Yeah, we had just got some data, somebody's name, the address, telephone number, and I was selling financial services to them.
Right.
And then that lead I would then sell to a finance company.
So you were cold calling, generating leads, and then
correct.
selling them on to financial institutions who would then carry out a sale.
Convert them,
Okay.
correct, yes.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes, Sarge, my stammer would be that bad that even saying hello would take me like 9-10 seconds.
Wow.
And somebody would think nobody was there on the other side, hang up on me.
Right.
Sometimes my stammer was that bad that really every second word I would stammer really over. And they would think something was wrong with the line. They'd go, hello, right, there's something wrong with the line, hang up on me.
Yeah.
But I persevered because it was something that I was really set on conquering, you know, conquer your fear.
Yes.
And so I did. I set up a call center. I then started to train the other people to do these calls, and I set up a good lead gen center. And then I thought, hang on a second, I can take it from A to Z because I know how to generate this sale. And I thought, but you know something, what I'm best at is actually speaking to people face to face.
Okay.
So then I took those services and I started knocking on people's doors.
Right. So that's where the confidence of door knocking came from.
It wasn't confidence at the beginning side. I tell you, I was like trembling, knocking on doors. I was speaking to shopkeepers. I was speaking to churches, mosques, community centres. Anybody that would give me like 2 minutes of their time, I would just sell to.
And is it the same services you were doing, or did it evolve?
Yeah, same services. So whereas previously I was just generating leads, whereas now I was speaking to people and I was selling the service from A to Z.
What got you moving from the call center on then from there?
Because
what created the change there?
Because I'm very good at spotting gaps in the market. Somehow my brain, as soon as I really understand something from A to Z, I can then spot, okay, there's really a gap here, here. You need to bring in people to actually plug that gap or learn it somehow. So I learned it, and then I found out there wasn't really anybody selling these services face to face. Really, everything was cold calls. So I thought, okay, how can I disrupt the market somehow? So I took it on the streets. I was speaking to so many children's centres. I was speaking to shopkeepers. I was sitting down with people. So the service that I provided was I would help people that have got a debt. Okay. So if you've got really any kind of debt, credit cards, loans, really any kind of unsecured lending, I could then stop all the charges and freeze the interest.
Yes. So people that had got themselves in maybe some financial difficulty,
correct,
is helping manage them out of that situation.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And really, again, I really felt for people that some of these people, Sarge, they haven't got themselves really into debt to go and buy Lamborghinis, Ferraris, you know, like a big lifestyle. They just got themselves into this debt just to get by.
Yes.
You know, and I thought these people are working hard to pay off the debt. So, for example, if somebody had a credit card debt and they were paying £200, 160 of that would just be the interest charges.
So it'd take forever to pay the debt down.
Exactly, it would.
Trapped.
And yes. Yeah. And I thought, how can I help them? Because you know, aside some of these people think that they can't challenge banks because banks are this
Big
big
institution, yes.
exactly, yeah. But what people don't know is that they can be challenged.
And they've known to make many mistakes over the years.
Lots
not
of
just one.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And occasionally it comes up in the news and it's news for like 2 days and then it kind of quiets down again.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
they are lots of mistakes that banks make.
Yes. And like me or you did that, we'd be sat in prison somewhere.
Yeah. What the
Yeah.
banks get away with. Yeah.
It's crazy.
What then moved, and how long were you doing all the corporate world, the call centers, the financial? How long were you doing all this?
So I've been doing that for about 10 years, 10 years, I'd say, doing all of that. And then from there, I then, so every person that I would speak to, selling all these services, I converted them. So I sat back really and I just looked at everything that I did, and I got 100% conversion rate. So I built this great back book, really, of people that I sat down with, helped, and then from that they then recommended me to their family and and friends, and I had this great business. But then there were changes in the FCA happened, whereas previously people that were in debt, we could help them for them. So if you couldn't afford something, or if the best option for you would be to declare yourself bankrupt or go into an IVA, whereas the changes meant that you could do A, B, or C, and really it was a process-led system rather than a people-led system.
So that environment started to change in terms of
yes,
how that worked.
it did, and I thought, do you know what? This is no longer for the people anymore.
Yes.
And then really I decided to sell that business.
Was this around the credit crunch time when all these changes are happening, or
just after that? To be honest,
2009, 10, that sort of time.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I decided to actually sell, and I sold the business to Betfred at that point. And then we had kids. We have two young children, but I'm not the kind of person just to sit there and just do nothing.
Yes.
And I thought, right, okay, how else now can I set up some other business as well? And just by chance, we were having dinner with some friends, and we were talking about businesses, and then we started talking about property. And then he said to me, I know Simon Zucchi, do you want to be introduced? And then he can then train you how to actually do this. And then then
that's about the time we met.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then were you in a position then where you had quite a lot of money to start with, or was it a case of it's just you clean the decks and kind of fresh start? And
we did have a chunk of money to actually spend.
And what sort of strategies did you start with?
So I got told that you need to have something that will replace your salary or your actually income. And back then I had a huge income to replace. So I decided, do you know what, go big or go home kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we started off with commercial to resi conversion.
This was before it was fashionable.
Correct, yes. So the first project that we bought was a hotel, and we converted that really into 2 properties. We converted that into a 9-bed really ensuite HMO and a 6-bed. And then at the same time, I then bought really another property, which we converted from a 3-bed into a 7-bed unit HMO.
So started building the portfolio using HMOs.
Correct.
And where would you place these in the market? Were they kind of entry level, mid range, kind of high end type of product you were creating? The HMOs.
Oh, high end. We knew to disrupt the market because really I was starting to network. I was starting to speak to people, and I could pick out the challenges like mold, single glazing, really on suites, etc. So I started doing things to take away really all of those problems.
So when you get involved in property, sometimes people look at the challenges they might face or what might be obstacles for them. So there's not many women in property and construction.
Correct.
There's even fewer Asian women in that sector. and even fewer Muslim Asian women in that sector. So what sort of challenges have you experienced along the way?
Where do I start, son? No, to be honest, her first challenge that I faced was the technical knowledge. I did not know how to refurb something, how to design it, how to take it back to brick and actually create something amazing. So the type of person that I am well aware really of my strengths and my weaknesses. So I then brought in a business partner whose strengths were my weaknesses.
Right.
So then we did that. But in terms of ladies, really Asian ladies and Muslim ladies, the challenges that I face is that this is a predominantly a male world. There are so many more men in property compared to female. Some of these men don't see you as you know what you're talking really about. So therefore they're
a bit dismissive, not taking it seriously.
They're really dismissive. So I can say to somebody the same thing, and my partner can say exactly the same thing. He won't like, listen to me, but he will to him. And I think, gosh, I have to work twice as hard to make sure that I know the things that I'm talking about. And plus, you need to have a really thick skin, because there are so many people, like I said, so many men that will dismiss you. Some of them don't even shake your hand. Some of them don't even really acknowledge that you're part of this group. So for example, if I go networking and but they're stood there, but they don't even open the group for me to step in or speak
Won't
to
even
them.
acknowledge that you're there. Wow.
They don't, so those are the biggest challenges. But I'm the kind of person, the more you say to me, no, I can't do it, the more I'm going to show you, yes, I can.
Yes.
I can do it.
And one of the things I love about this business is it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what color, background, ethnicity, height, size, anything. None of these things can actually impact your results, because you control the results that you produce. You're the only one that can control that. Would you say that's fair? Would you say that is the case? As a female in this business, there's more challenges, but do you think the possible results and what's the success can still be huge?
Yes, I think we ladies, we can create really a lot more really impact really in this property sector, because some men just think of the numbers, right? They just see the building, etc. Whereas we think of the heart. How do we care about people? How do we make sure that these tenants stay in there for longer? How can we help them? So for me, the customer service really is absolutely really everything. But yes, the control is in with you. If you are determined, if you don't care, but you don't care really about what people think of you. You don't care really if people don't speak to you. All you need to focus on is, yes, I do this, and just surround yourself with the right people, with the right knowledge and skills.
Yes, I think people around you is fundamental. Who you spend your time
100%.
with has a massive contribution in terms of what your future will look like.
You are who you surround
Yes.
yourself
100%.
with.
So over the years, you've seen lots of change happen in the property sector, as have I. And where do you think the opportunity is at the moment in this market? It's evolving, it's changing.
I think so many people are now, so many landlords are looking to sell now due to the high rates from the banks, and I don't see the rates coming down anytime soon. I think we've had such a great run at 0%, really, and
Virtually zero,
virtually zero. And I think we've just been living really in this fantasy land, thinking, yes, really it'll be fine. We can't see the banks bringing it really up or really anything like that. So I think created this fake fantasy world, which now people are now crashing because they can't keep really up with the payments. But I think where the biggest opportunity is just by speaking to people, you know, but genuinely caring
Yes.
about them, finding out their true problems, and then trying to solve it. Because, you know, buying property can be so creative. There are so many ways to buy, to help people. So I think that's where the biggest opportunity is, rather than just checking right move or anything like that. Find out where do all these landlords network, where they speak to. Like, for example, some of these people that I've seen is your local council has a property networking really as well, but they do it really every 6 months, really every three months, something like that. So speak to the council really and see when are these really events. Sometimes the council has they have the events to actually update their landlords, such as EPC, the grants, really any kind of changes.
Some
So
councils are
speak
better
to
than
them.
others at doing that in terms of
Correct.
organising the information, getting it out to the various landlords in that sector or in that borough. And I 100% agree with you. I think now the opportunity is talking to sellers directly, understanding what they need, try and find a solution to their problems. And when we first met, that was like the thing to do, and that was the best opportunity. But then over the last few years, because the market's just been constantly rising, prices have been increasing, it's been more and more difficult to do that, and it's kind of moved away from that. But now it's coming back to that environment where actually there's fewer buyers than there are sellers. There's more people trying to sell, and if we can find a solution for them, understand them, then if there's a deal to be done, there's certainly going to be an opportunity to do that.
Yes.
So we touched on interest rates and we're getting used to this environment of zero or almost zero. And you've been involved in finance previously. So what sort of rates are people seeing historically, kind of pre-credit crunch? What do you think were typical mortgage rates and even subprime stuff that used to exist at that time? What sort of rates are...
It's crazy, isn't it? Because if you look back, people were paying like, some of them were paying 17%, 10% even. You know, so I think, yeah.
It was not unusual for a mortgage to be like 8% or something like
No,
that.
no.
It was very common. And so
was very common.
these days people are getting very upset that mortgage rates are like 7, 8, 9%.
Yes.
But actually it's kind of almost going back to what was the norm
But
previously.
these people that are complaining, like it's about 5, 6, 7%, are people that started to buy in the fantasy world, yeah, 0% or half a percent.
Yeah, they've gone in with a mortgage of 2% or something,
Correct.
thinking this is how it's going to be.
This is it.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately not how it is, and some people are now starting to experience that. So, what sort of projects are you focusing on? What sort of things are you looking at over the next year to 2 years?
We're focusing on apartments because we've seen like a huge shift between single lets to HMOs and then to really apartments, because people tend to stay there for longer. They are classed. I would class that as a single let.
So lots of single lets together in one
correct,
building.
yeah. So if you can buy a block really, or if you can convert really a block, that is like a single let on steroids, because you have all of these people, 20, 30, 40 people, 100 people living there for years. But I think the uniqueness of that can be is that create that block for a specific need. So for example, if you are a dog lover, create that block specifically for dog people. So have like free poop bags, have water bowls, food bowls really in the communal areas, have free snacks, for example, for the dogs. That, or if you
creating a niche for a particular type.
Correct.
So you see some of these like co-living type environments where they're trying to get young kind of hipster types all living together, if you like. And so those niches will attract a certain type of person, and meaning that you have less competition because there's not lots of those that exist. And also you'll probably be able to command a premium rent for that as well. So you're earning more money for the product that you've created.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And whereabouts in the country are you looking at for these? Are you looking all over, or?
No, we're just specifically focusing on Manchester area.
Yes. Yes. And like me, you've also run a networking event. So you
Yes.
clearly see the benefit of that. So how did that come about, and what was the thinking behind that?
So again, I saw there was a gap really in the market in the Manchester area, and I spoke to somebody that had a franchise of networking meetings, and I spoke to him. I said, look, here's like a great really opportunity, because I can't see any being done really in a specific way. And really, I will do that. You got female, right? You got really Asian, and we will really attract all the people that are really a little bit really intimidated by going to the other meetings, because sometimes whether you're of a different color, race, the more you see about the same, the more you
feel.
Yes, you feel comfortable. You feel like as if you can speak to them really openly as well. And then he said no.
Okay.
And he said, I don't think it'd be good because of your stammer.
Right.
So I thought, okay, fine. Yeah. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna show you
Yes.
that I can do this.
So the fiery Sabina came out and
It did.
says, "I'll show you." Excellent.
And
And
then
it's
we
done
set
phenomenally
them up.
well.
Yeah, so we get around about 100 people really attending really every month. My business partner really and I have a huge network we can tap into. We can tap into that specific really area, and the way that we do things is completely different to other networking meetings. We get a variety of people. We do get some new people, but we also get people that have been really in the property sector for years, but they don't have a place to hang, but they don't have a place to speak to people, because although like it's great to be speaking to new people, to be giving back, you also need to speak to people that have been there so you can learn, you can share. So we're very blessed in the fact that we do get all these people coming to our networking meeting, and the goal is to make that the biggest and the best and the most valuable meeting as well.
Yes, north of Birmingham.
Not
So we clearly see the benefit of networking events. We've been involved with them, been attending them, run them as well. But there's many people don't go to networking events, that they've never been. What do you think that they can gain? What do you think they can benefit from tapping into a network somewhere close to where they are and going along to a networking event?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's so many. Great thing is really again, you are who you surround yourself with. There are people there that have done, that are sourcing, buying deals, selling deals. You've got people in that room that have been doing this for so long. You can speak to them. You can cut up really all of their knowledge, and you've got people sat really in that room that have got so much money, they need to park that somewhere. So they're sat there speaking to people, seeing people, who can I park that money with, or do a JV with them, or there's just, you need to get to a networking meeting just so you can speak to people, see really any kind of changes in the market really as well.
Yes, I agree with you. I think there's just so many opportunities, and hence why we run them. Whether you're going to meet somebody who could potentially end up doing business with, there's people that I've met that become business partners, that have funded projects with us, that we've bought deals from, people we've sold deals to as well. There's just so many opportunities because you've got like-minded people in one room and a range of experience, and that's the beautiful thing about these things. It's not that everyone's going to be brand new. Occasionally you get some networking events where you get a certain type of person. For example, they're all brand new. And yes, there's some benefit in that, But actually, if you want to grow and you want to stretch, then it's surrounding yourself with people that are more experienced if you want to benefit from some of their knowledge as well.
There's a saying, really, 'cause I don't know exactly how it goes, but walk the path that people have treaded before you, because it's so much really
Yes,
easier
yes.
rather than doing that. And you know something, Saj, I have met some great people networking. I have met people, I have had millions of pounds through networking. So somebody's got £1 million and they speak to me saying, Sabina, we have really all of this money. We need to park it somewhere. We do deals together. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is just so much value to it. So much.
The opportunity is unreal for sure.
Unreal.
Sabina, I really enjoyed having this conversation. Tell us what's the best way for people to connect with you if they want to reach out to you.
So Sabina Thorpe, Thorpe, and I'm just on really all the social
So just Google you, they'll find you.
platforms. Yes.
Excellent. Sabina, thank you again so
Thank you
much
so much.
for doing this.
You're welcome.